The most popular piece of innovation advice in Silicon Valley is flat out wrong. And it's killing great ideas before they even have a chance to succeed. And I can prove it with a story about a glass of water that sat perfectly still while a car bounced around underneath it. Hello, my name's Phil McKinney, and I've spent decades as HP CTO making billion-dollar innovation decisions. And I learned the hard way that following the fail fast advice cost us billions of dollars. And it robbed the world of breakthrough technologies. Today, I'm going to share 5 specific signs that indicate when an innovation deserves patience instead of being killed prematurely. Miss these signs and you'll become another fail fast casualty. So there I was around 2006 sitting in Dr. Bose's lab at Bose Corporation. You know Bose Corporation, noise canceling headphones, Bose earbuds, which I have mine, and I love them. And he was showing me what was honestly looked just like a regular car seat mounted on some automotive hardware. Not something I was expecting to see in the labs at Bose Corporation. But I'm thinking, okay, what's the big deal here? But then he activates the system and has his assistant start driving over these increasingly aggressive road obstacles, speed bumps, swerving. And here's what blew my mind. The car chassis is bouncing around like crazy, but the seat perfectly still. Then Dr. Bose does something that I'll never forget. He places a full glass of water on the seat and tells his assistant to hit a speed bump at 30 miles an hour. The chassis lurches violently, but not a single drop of water spills. And here's what should terrify every fail fast advocate. This technology took 50 years to develop. 50. 50 years. Dr. Bose began developing the mathematical models in the 1960s. Under today's quarterly Wall Street pressure, this project would have been killed 100 times over. When I asked Dr. Bose how he could invest an idea for 50 years, he explained that keeping Bose private meant they weren't subject to the quarterly results pressure that often destroys patient innovation at public companies. At HP, we were trapped in that system, and it cost us billions. Billions. As a public company, we lived and died by the quarterly earnings calls. Every 90 days, we had to show growth, and that quarterly drumbeat made us masters at killing promising ideas the moment they did not produce immediate results. Let me give you 3 examples that still keep me up at night. Well, one I've talked about in the past, which is WebOS. We acquired Palm for $1.2 billion in 2010. Revolutionary interface years ahead of its time. Killed it when it did not achieve the immediate dominance. Every time you swipe between apps today on your iPhone or Android, you are using the thinking and the patents and the ideas we threw away. What about digital cameras? We literally invented the future of photography with digital cameras. There was a great feature in the HP cameras called the thinning button. You literally could push a button on the back of the camera, take pictures of your family members, and they love these photographs because it literally thinned them. A feature that is now in Adobe and a number of digital cameras that are out there. We abandoned it the moment smartphones started incorporating cameras rather than figuring out a way to play in the case of photo apps, etc. Or a personal favorite, because it temporarily reported to me at HP, which was HP Halo. This was the ultimate immersive telepresence room with extraordinary, unbelievable meeting experiences. This was before Cisco was in the space. Nobody was doing meeting rooms. This was the first of the meeting room capabilities. We sold it to Polycom for $89 million. $89 million in 2011 when quarterly pressures demanded focus. Here's what kills me every time. HP bought Poly back for 3.3 billion in 2022. 11 years later, spent 80 million, bought it back for billions. They paid 37 times more to reacquire capabilities that HP built. Now, we weren't bad managers. We were trapped by the quarterly earnings system that makes fail fast the only option for public companies. And it was systematically destroying our breakthrough potentials. Now, after making these billion-dollar mistakes, I had to figure out how to distinguish between ideas worth killing and ideas worth protecting. Which ones did you choose to protect? Which ones do you choose to kill? What I discovered changed everything when it comes down to 5 things I now look for. When I see all 5, I know we've got something worth being patient with. Miss even one, and you're probably wasting your time. So, first up, does the math actually work? Here's how to validate the science behind the fundamental technologies without being a scientist yourself. Start with peer review. Has this been published in reputable journals? Has the idea been something that actually the fundamental science has been validated? Are other researchers building on it? Is it a space that's getting a lot of interest? You're not trying to go off and, violate some fundamental law of physics. Its red flag is if the only validation comes from the inventors themselves. Nobody else is looking in the space. Look, nothing starts from nothing. You were always building on the shoulders of others. And then next, assuming you can get a little bit of feeling that, hey, this is an interesting space, bring in independent experts, not consultants, who will tell you what you want to hear. Find researchers who have no financial stake in your project. Share your core assumptions with them and ask them to identify any holes. Punch holes in the idea. Look for mathematical elegance. Dr. Bose's suspension model was beautiful in its simplicity. Over complex dependencies and models and a lot of waving of hands often hide fundamental flaws. But here's your action step. Before investing serious money, get 3 independent technical reviews. If even one expert raises fundamental concerns about the underlying science, stop. No amount of patience fix broken physics. You have to have the fundamental assumptions that are the baseline for whatever idea you're working on. Does it work? Okay, that was number 1. Number 2, can you actually build all the elements? Now, this is where you need what I call a dependency map. List every technology, every component, every element that has to work in order for your project to succeed. Even if it's not coming from you, you have some dependency on it somewhere in the process. Then assess each one separately. For each dependency, ask yourself, are we developing this ourselves, or waiting for someone else to solve it, or hoping it gets solved by magic? If more than one critical piece falls in the magic category, you're not being patient, you're just flat out gambling. Create realistic timelines for each component. Bose needed better actuators, smaller amplifiers, and faster control systems. They could systematically work on each piece. That's patient innovation. And it required some fundamental science that had to be created. Miniaturization, which you have to wait for Moore's law to kick in, etc. But if you need breakthroughs in 5 unrelated fields simultaneously, like needing better batteries and a quantum computing and room temperature superconductors. That's not a plan. That's a wish list. Now, here's your action steps. Map your critical dependencies. If you can't draw a clear path to solving each one, either find a different approach, find a partner, or walk away. Okay, we've covered two. What's the third? The third is, will anyone actually want this? Now, don't look at today's market. This is where a lot of people fail. They look at today. Study how problems evolve and how new markets emerge. Start with pain point analysis. What specific problem does this solve, and how severe is that pain? Bose started with car comfort, but found its real market when truck driver health became a safety issue. Look for regulatory drivers. Often, breakthrough technologies become valuable when regulations change. Environmental rules, safety standards, health requirements, these create demands that did not exist before. Study early adopters. Who are the customers willing to pay a premium for an imperfect solution? This is your proving ground. If you can't identify specific early adopters willing to pay above market prices, your timing is probably wrong. Your action steps: identify 3 specific customer segments who would pay a premium for an early version of your solution. If you can't name them specifically, you're not ready. It may just be you have to wait. Don't overinvest. Bose was willing to wait for the 50 years for the right technology for the right early market. Now we've covered 3. What's number 4? Number 4, will you have time to enjoy it? This is about building a defensible advantage, an innovation moat that competitors cannot easily cross, they can't copy. Focus on system level innovation, not just component improvements. Bose didn't just build better shock absorbers, they created an integrated electromagnetic system that required entirely different expertise. Look for knowledge accumulation advantages. The longer you work on something, the more you should know about it than anyone else. If competitors can hire away your key people and instantly catch up, you don't have a real advantage. Consider manufacturing complexity. Technologies that require specialized production processes and custom tooling, rare expertise, rare materials create natural barriers to entry. Your action step: write down exactly what it would take competitors at least 2 years to match your solution, even if they threw unlimited money at it. If you can't make that case convincingly, keep working at it. Create the moat. And what is number 5 in the list? Can you actually survive the waiting? This is the make or break assessment. Most good ideas die here, not because the technology fails, but because the organization cannot sustain the investment. First, assess your funding horizon. How long can you sustain this before you need to generate revenue? Now, this is the point where you need to be brutally honest with yourself. Include the cost of delays and scope creep and the inevitable setbacks for innovation. Second, evaluate the decision maker's patience. Will the people approving your budget still be there in 3 years? Will they still believe in the project when competitors are winning quarterly battles? Third, create protection mechanisms around the funding. This might mean dedicated funding that can't be rated for other projects, separate business units, or partnership structures that insulate the project from the quarterly pressures. At Cable Labs, one of the things we have done is we created what we call the Ideas Fund. The Ideas Fund is a pool of dollars that is guaranteed. It allows us to fund projects for multiple years. We detach funding of innovation work from the annual budgeting process. So projects that will extend and take 18 months, 2 years, 3 years. We've got some projects that are a year, 6, 7, 8 in their life cycles, but we have a set aside, guaranteed set of funds that do not get touched. So if you want to create a good this or solve this funding issue, here are your action steps. Calculate your true funding runway, including reasonable setbacks and contingencies. If it's less than the time needed for fundamental breakthroughs, either get more patient capital or find a faster path to revenue. Those are your two choices. So, those were the 5 assessments. These 5 assessments work in theory, but do they actually create billion-dollar returns in the real world? Now, here's the most compelling modern example of doing it right. And this is Dell Computers or Dell Technology, as they're known now, 2013 privatization. Michael Dell paid 24.9 billion for one thing: freedom from the quarterly earnings pressure that was killing Dell's long-term potential. Dell explicitly stated the goal was, quote, no more pulling R&D in growth investments to make quarterly numbers, end quote. And the results were remarkable. R&D spending went from 1.1 billion to 4.4 billion, a 4x increase in R&D funding because they didn't have to report the quarterly numbers. Dell transformed from a slowly declining PC manufacturer to an enterprise solutions leader. And by 2023, the investment had generated an estimated $70 billion return. One of private equity's most successful turnarounds, built on escaping Wall Street's system that makes fail fast the only option for most public companies. Now, the Bose ride system, which was launched in 2010, and it's been improving the lives of truck drivers who are facing whole body vibration problems that had no solution. Academic studies have shown significant reductions in driving pain, lower fatigue levels, faster recovery times, and I would argue better safety on the highway after long road trips. One driver told researchers something that really just stuck with me. He said, I thought I was going to have to quit my job, and I was in crises because my back was in such bad shape. But now I feel great, and I'm back driving full time. If Dr. Bose had followed the fail fast advice, that driver would still be in pain, and the advance would never have happened. So here's my challenge to you, and it starts with looking at what's sitting right in front of you. Look at your current portfolio right now. Are there projects that passed mathematics validation but haven't shown the commercial results? Projects where the ecosystem isn't ready, but the fundamental science is sound. Those might be exactly the innovations that deserve patience instead of the fail fast pressure. I use the 70-20-10 model. 70% of my investments in R&D are really around core improvements that can move quickly. 20% on adjacent markets with kind of the moderate timelines. And then 10% transformational advances, your patient capital investments. Patient innovation creates technological moats that just rapid iteration cannot replicate. Once achieved, it often produces faster competitive advantage. You get overnight success after decades of systematic development. The difference between companies that master this and those that don't come down to asking the right questions. So, instead of asking how, for instance, how quickly can we bring this to market, try asking what needs to get better before this becomes real. Instead of asking what's our quarterly burn rate, which is a question Mark Hurd, when he was CEO at HP, asked me all the time. We should try asking, what's the breakthrough potential if we actually solve this? Instead of asking, why hasn't this shown results? Try asking, does the math work and what pieces need more time? The companies that master this balance will dominate the next wave of transformative technologies. In a world obsessed with speed, patient innovators are building the technologies that will define the next decade. What opportunity is your organization that deserves patience instead of that fail fast pressure? That question will determine whether you are building the next major advance or killing it before it has a chance to succeed. So, one way to get more information on this is visit Studio Notes over on Substack, where I share the deep dive behind the scenes with Dr. Bose's lab. Much more exhaustive discussion over there. The boardroom decisions at HP that they are still paying for today when you think about buying Poly back. Over there on Substack, we take a look at Corning and how a large public company, not one that took it private, stayed public, yet Corning can succeed at patient innovation. How do they do it? Take a read over on Substack. The link is in the description below or over in the show notes. And remember, thinking better creates better ideas. I'm going to repeat that. Thinking better creates better ideas. And sometimes those ideas need time to become the advances that change everything for us, you, your organization, and society. Thank you for listening. But before you go, hit that subscribe button and hit that notification. It helps us spread the word and helps others transform their thinking to drive the innovations that we as a society need. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.